My name is Demetric. I'm a lifelong resident of Port Allen. About 4 years ago, my life changed. Hardworking citizen, love young people. The source of my energy is giving back to the community. We had a mayor to get ousted out of office in the year of 2011, and his seat needed to be held by someone within the community. I had several people within the community to come to me to say that we would love to see you hold that seat to run the city of Port Allen. I did some praying. I went to God. I seek God, and God laid on my heart to do this. As I got ready to go after this particular position, it was my heart and desire to reach out to the community as a whole. It wasn't just to help my people, the African Americans, but it was to help Port Allen as a whole. My desire was to get into office and to build Port Allen, to make Port Allen a better place to live. Been here all of my life, 50-something years. Went to Port Allen High School, and my life just revolves around this city itself. But when I began to reach out to the people and get people to back me and support me, I felt that sense of pride. I felt that sense of unity within the community as a whole. When I ran in 2011, I ran against my opponent, former Roger Bergeron, and I was told that I lost the election by 12 votes. So I seek to run again in 2012 because this was going to complete the term for former Mayor Derek Lewis. I pursued to run again in 2012, and I did win that election. The community was so proud. Everyone, backed me, supported me. They were glad to see me hold such a position of this nature and of this character because they knew who I was. They know the type of person that I am, that I love people, that, I love reaching out to the community. Well, when I got ready to make transition to go into office, former Mayor Bergeron would never reach out to me. So on December the 31st, I decided to go into the mayor office to get a taste for the environment, to get a feel for what the office was like. And during that time, I decided to take my brother-in-law in with me, Dr. Ralph Slaughter. Now, he is very knowledgeable of governmental laws, and he's a business person. And he was the one that introduced me to what is called the Larson Act. And the Larson Act is basically the law that builds up, the governing body for the municipalities such as Port Allen. So I began to study the Larson Act and began to learn the laws, and it was my intention to go into that office and to run that office strictly by the Larson Act. Well, upon my visit there, I was in the one of the back rooms reading over some of the information on Port Allen itself, and the CFO made her way into the room, and she introduced herself to me, and we began to hold a conversation, and she began to tell me who she was. She heard a lot of good things about me. She heard that I was a very articulate person. She told me that she knew my brother-in-law, Dr. Ralph Slaughter, and that he should know what type of person she was. She then began to get into a conversation of, well, I'm the CFO. I handle all the business transaction for the city. There are people within the city that will come to me and ask me about monies to purchase certain things, and I would just let them know, I'm over the money, and what I say, that's the way it goes. And then from nowhere, she began to tell me, and if you get in my way, I'll show you just where I place you. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, this lady doesn't even know me. How could she make this comment? So not worrying about that, the type of person I am, I continue to just let that brush to the side and continue to uh, go after what I came in that office to do. Well, once I took office on January the 2nd, there was a meeting that we had to have with the auditors. The auditors had made their audit report. I had to come in along with former Mayor Bajoran, and we all were sitting at the table. So the auditor began to give us all this information and give us these findings about what they found in that year audit. So what really stuck out to me was, and I asked the auditor, he cited some deficits that we had, and he said we had those same deficits the previous year. So with me coming from a background of knowing the company I worked for, when auditors came through, that was like, you had to make sure you had your ducks in a row. And whenever we had audit findings that did not step up to the bar of this company, they would come back to us and say, you know what, I need you to give me I need you to give me some ways that you can fix this so that we won't see this happen again. So in the back of my mind, I know that I was the leader. I was the person that was running City Hall. I approached the CFO. I called her in my office and I basically, asked her, I said, do you need help with your auditing? I realized that we got the same issues that we had on last year. I said, would you like me to get you someone in here to help you? And she basically said, no, I feel like I could do it. I feel like I could handle it. But that still didn't give me a sense of feeling to know that she could really handle this. You have to know that she was an accountant. She didn't have any accounting degree. She by trade she's a lawyer. She was a lawyer, so she knew the law practice real good. So I said, well, okay, well, why don't you go ahead and write me up some corrective actions? Give me some actions to show me that, this will not happen on this year upcoming audit. So, that conversation went well. But then a week later, I get a letter from the Louisiana legislative auditors, and they basically said the exact same thing. I'm really feeling on edge now. I'm really, getting to the point like, I don't believe that this CFO could handle this. I mean, the auditors from the state basically said, you give me, as the mayor, you give me some corrective actions. And
at that time, how long had you been the mayor?
only 2 weeks. That was my second week into that position. So again, I talked with the CFO. She began to design some plans and some plans of action. But again, I didn't feel comfortable because at the end of the day, the auditors were going to come back for the mayor. They were not going to, go to the CFO, handcuff her, put her in jail. They were going to come back to the mayor. So our second city council meeting, I decided that I would find me another CFO, that I would let this CFO go. Now, mind you, when former Mayor Bajoran was in office, the CFO, the CAO positions, he was able to come in and get rid of those positions. But there seemed to be a brawl when I decided that I wanted to get rid of the CFO. I came in saying to the council members that I would run an ad in a local newspaper article seeking for that CFO position. During that time, the CFO had her lawyers to come in this same city council meeting, and her lawyers bluntly stood up and said, no, she's not going anywhere. She will return to work on tomorrow. Not knowing what had taken place, what was going on, the meeting in the following day, the CFO comes to work along with one of the city council members. I had them to sit upstairs to wait on whatever information that I needed, because they were telling me that the judge was going to fax me over some type of letter stating that she was able to come back to work. Well, lo and behold, I did receive this letter from the judge stating that she was to come back to work and that I was not to interfere with any of her duties. It seemed to be immediately after that happened, the news media got involved. Everything that I did in that office, they began to put it on the news. And one news particular was Channel 2. I couldn't even go to the bathroom. I mean, I couldn't even go out to eat my lunch. I couldn't go out to have a meeting. If I'm going out the building, they had the mic in my face. If I wanted to go out to meet someone, they had the mic in my face. Now, there was a place within City Hall that they designed specifically that the mayor would have a way of escape, to escape from the media when they would try to come in and just boss themselves around. Well, lo and behold, I decided to take that particular escape. But this same news reporter met me at the door, and I thought that that was real strange. He met me at that door with a mic in his hand and began to ask me all types of questions. But this went on for so long. They try to say that I came in and just bluntly gave myself a $20,000 raise, when all reality, former Mayor Bergeron said that he took a cut in pay, which that never happened. So this made a big cahoot on the news. From there, the city council decided that they were going to go out and hire an attorney to have me investigated, to say that, you know, I gave myself this $20,000 raise. They went to the lawyer for the city. The city attorney basically told them that I was in the right standing. That money was due to me just as much as the former mayors received that $20,000. Well, this particular city councilman said, well, no, I don't agree with that. I'm going to search it a little further to see if I could get a little more insight on it. So from there, they took it to the DA. The DA turned it down. They took it to the sheriff office. He in turn turned it over to the Louisiana legislative auditors. So they did this big study or big investigation on me. Come to find out, you know, again, I was in right standing. So I mean, you know, I was sued in so many ways. The 3 white councilmen, they sued me. They took it to the board of ethics. I was sued on that end. You know, I had to take money out of my pocket on some of these things, you know, to just clear up myself. They tried to make a big deal about me not approving a fire truck for the fire chief. Now, mind you, this was talked about when former Mayor Bergeron was in office, that they were going to give this fire chief this brand new Tahoe. Well, when I got in office, I knew nothing about it. So what they did, they decided they was going to give him this new fire truck, and they slapped the big check on my desk and wanted me to sign it. So I'm like, hey, what is this? Well, this is the fire truck, blase, blase. I say, well, I know nothing about it. Well, it was discussed. I say, well, I need a little more information about this. I'm not going to sign this. So that hit the news. She don't want to approve the fire truck. I mean, this is a personal vehicle for the fire chief to ride around in. I mean, this wasn't something that was going to benefit the city, but it was more or less, you know, something that they had planned before I took office. But my thing was, you know, I need to know what's going on. I'm not just going to sign something that I'm not aware of. So, you know, they came into the city council meeting saying, well, oh, you made us lose our account with Chevrolet, you know, not knowing that I got on the phone and talked with the dealership, and they were like, you know, Mayor Slaughter, you in charge, you make the decision. You know, I'm not going to look at what was done in the past. Since you're in office, you have to make the decision. And, you know, that's when I told him that I was not going to approve it. And he basically said, said, well, that's fine with me. The city won't lose his account, but in the near future, I just need to make sure that, the mayor and the dealership are on the same page. So, the news just took that and blew it all out of proportion. They blew out of proportion the fire truck rescue unit, saying I didn't want to approve it. But that was during the time that Pee Wee Berthelot came in with the parish, because the monies was getting ready to be tied over from the city funds to the parish. So really, Pee Wee Berthelot, he had to come in and really make that decision as to if that rescue unit could be purchased. And lo and behold, that was purchased. They just came up with so many things. The bank made a mistake, $15,000. And with me learning every job activity that there was in City Hall, I had the knowledge of business experience. So I looked at the accounts on a daily basis. And I'm glad that I did that, because when I looked at the account that particular day, it showed an error of $15,000. So readily, I picked up the phone, called the bank, and asked the bank what was going on. And they made note that it was an error. I said, well, okay, if it's an error, I need you guys to write me a letter saying that this was an error, this was something that the bank was at fault, so that we can clear that. So they did just that. And during the time that there was court, the CFO took me to court, and her lawyers brought up, where the mayor have the account $15,000 overdrawn. But lo and behold, I had my letter in place, so they were able to present that in court. So that went down the drain. But it was just more of just everything I did in that office. They tried to find fault, but deep down in my heart, I feel that they did not want to work with me from day one. I mean, with me trying to come in office, reaching out to the former mayor saying, let's make some transition, and he would never try to make that transition with me. It was like they really wanted to have it set up for me to be a failure. And to them, it may have seemed that way, but to me, I felt that I did my best. I ran that office with pride. I ran it with integrity. Even though those things were going on, I feel that I did my very best. And I thank those supporters that backed me, those that knew the truth. And of course, the news media is really the thing that caught a hold of our people, because whatever Channel 2 began to put out there, it's like they believed it and they didn't know the truth. And what our people must realize is that this is just a tactic that has been used on our people for years. I began to read, and I began to study, and I began to look out and see just the way that our African Americans have been treated. And this was one of their tactics, that they would really use the newspaper, they would use the television, and they would take lies and they would take stories and they would twist it. So for our people, it's not a good thing that we always believe what the news is saying. It's a good thing to get out, go to that person, find out what's going on, because this is just a tactic that they use over and over and over again, and it's happening so much to our African American people that whatever they put out there on people that are of high standard, have a high character, whatever way that they can bring them down, this is just what they want to do. And this is just what has happened in the city of Port Allen. And even when they did the recall, it was told to us when I took office that one of the white persons in the community put on Facebook, let's recall her. So all of these things, as I sit back and look at it, all of these things were something that was mapped out. It was planned out, and they just followed it to the T. And our people that they use, that they brainwash, because as I talk to a lot of African Americans, some of the older ones, they was telling me things like, baby, don't let them sell you no wooden nickel, and don't fall for the okie dokie. And this is exactly what our people did, the ones that went, through with the recall. I mean, this thing is on TV, and here is two of our African American young ladies walking proudly and boldly, with papers in their hands, and then once all this stuff go through, you find the white people in the community making statements on Channel 2 like, we got our city back. You know, it has to get better. Somewhere down the line, all of this stuff, has to cease. But I don't feel that it won't until we as a people just take a stand for what's right. Just take a stand for what we know is right. And I mean, when we haven't done anything wrong, it's time for us to just unify and come together to make a stand to say it's time for a change. It's time for, things to get better. And, a lot of people question me as to, you're crazy. Why would you, go back and try to run again after they recall you? And my thing was, I'm looking out for the children of tomorrow. And I told some of my supporters, I said, what if your grandson or your granddaughter want to run for mayor in 10 years? And then they look and say, well, look what they did to Mayor Dee Slaughter. I don't want to do it because what they did to her. And I said, I want to make a statement to show our people that you have to stand no matter what. So that's exactly what I did. Yes, I did. I went and I ran right after they called, this recall into play. And even during the time of the recall, my campaign team was investigated by the sheriff office, trying to say that it was voter fraud. Oh man, we had them to go out to my voters' home, knock on their door, the sheriff office, knock on their door, and bluntly say, did you vote for Mayor Dee Slaughter? And, a lot of them ran them away. A lot of them told them, get away from my homes and that type thing. But, this type thing was another tactic. And this was something that really scared the people. And they did not want to come out when I ran after they recalled me. A lot of the supporters just said, we're not going to vote. We just gonna, stay silent. I had some of my supporters that I went back to. They was like, well, I'm tired of seeing you on the news. Every time I turn the news on, you're on the news. And I began to tell them, you can't believe what the news is saying. And one elderly lady, I spoke to her in her home, and she said, well, you know what? She said, if you don't have no problem with being on the news, then I'm going to support you. But it just took me to get there and let them know you cannot believe what you're hearing on the news. And, as I look back at it, in all reality, I ran 6 times. I had to run 6 times within all of this commotion that went on with me running, and said that I lost by 12 votes, and then I had to run, and I was in runoffs, and then I had to recall. So my name was out there 6 times. But I really want to thank the supporters that really backed me all those times that I ran. And what really happened after the recall, they decided that to make it safe, let's get another black candidate. And this was one of the candidates that kind of worked alongside with the white people in Port Allen, and they put him in that position to run. And it was told to me that all of the whites were going to support him 100%, and that's exactly what happened. So they supported him, and then we had a few of the blacks who were not for me in the beginning. Of course, they continued to take that side with him. But then I lost a lot of my supporters when they put out that voter fraud. That began to suppress the vote, and the voters just did not come out on that last time that I ran for that seat. After all of the convictions and allegations that they made against me, took me to court, I was not found guilty for anything. I'm still living my life, enjoying life to the fullest. And if that was something that Mayor Dee Slaughter did wrong, I would be behind the jail cell, the jail walls, but I'm not because I didn't do anything wrong. It was all big lies, and the people just ran with those lies, and in all reality, it was lies. Within holding this office and holding this political seat, and now that I look back, I see that a lot of more influences were placed within the court system itself. Word got back to me that the CFO and the judge, that they were friends, and this was the thing that really hurt me holding that position, when the judge favored her to say that she could return back to work. I mean, I'm a supervisor. What supervisor can't put their employee in line? I mean, he held my hand, tied my hand to say that you could not interfere with her duties. So here I am working in the office as a supervisor, and I could not tell my employee anything. But again, this is what happens behind the scene when you have people that have a relationship with people like the lawyers and the judges, and they're gonna favor them and give them the side that they need, so that in some way or some form of fashion they have won on their end. And lastly, when we finally went to court in 2016, the judge basically just told the city council members to, go off into one of the rooms and just make a decision as to what you want to pay the CFO. So we never did go to court. I mean, the things that I needed to say and how I needed to be represented, that never took place. And even within all of that going on, the lawyers that I did have told me that I had a good case and that they were gonna, well represent me. And again, behind scene, I had a powerful lawyer, that a law firm that really had everything together some kind of way with the connections. They pulled out. So I had a lot of lawyers just to pull out because of this connection that's behind the scene. The CFO position and the CAO position, these positions were just clerical positions. So as the mayor, I had the right to fire and hire with these positions. But when the judge made his decision, he said, if it walks like a duck, talk like a duck, it is a duck. And that was the way that this CFO kept her position. Now, once I was recalled, the city council went back and made the CFO and the CAO department heads. Now, till this day, they are department heads, meaning that any mayor that come in, they cannot touch those positions. And it was just so strange that all of this happened after the ordeal that I went through. It's like, to save these two people, to save these two positions, these are the type of tactics that they did, and these are the type of tactics that they performed and carried out to make sure whatever they wanted to happen, it had to happen the way they wanted to happen. Well, in closing, I just want to say, after all of this that I've been through, that I really realized that there is corruption in the government itself. Even had one of the white council members to bring up in a council meeting that the reason why they did the recall, that they spent that money on those lawyers, and they wanted that money to be paid back to those lawyers. They did that recall specifically to get me out of office, because they made the comment that the two blacks did not want to, be a part of it. And lastly, till this day, I'm dumbfounded. I mean, you got the CFO. She sued the city, so taxpayer money, which is my money, that she's enjoying. Plus, she was able to keep her job. Now, something is not right with that picture. But again, that's corruption in government.
So we look at Amos chapter 5, verse 24. It says, but let justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. And I want to share with you briefly on the subject of call for justice and righteousness. 48 years ago, almost half country, and justice nor righteousness have not been fully manifested in the lives of African Americans. 1619 to 1865, American slavery, 246 years. 1865 to 1954, segregation, 89 years. 1954 to 2016, 62 years of our struggle, and the struggle is still real.